Hi YouTube, please give me a moment while I go live on Facebook. We'll be getting started momentarily. And I think we should be live on Facebook. Hi everybody, welcome to the Strategic Swing Trader. I am Sami Abu Saad, Director of Education at T3 Live. Hope you're doing well, hope your weekend is going great. We're gonna do what we always do, which is go over the market and go over some swing ideas for next week. Before we start, as always, a standard required disclaimer to let you know that trading is risky and that whatever we discuss is for educational purposes only. If you'd like to download a copy of my free ebook, link for that is in the description of the video below. Without further ado, let's turn to the charts and get going. If you find benefit in today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. That helps support our channel. If you have any questions for us, reach out by emailing customer service info@t3live.com, info@t3live.com. All right, so I have finally trailed out of my SQQ position. Tell you the truth, I only was gonna trail out of the I had a position in my IRA account, a position in my swing account, so I was only gonna trail out of the swing account position and keep the IRA, but I ended up trailing out of both. I don't know if that will prove to be a mistake or not, because the market is still all out bearish, as you can see. That's the chart of the Qs. Chart of the SPY is similar, almost the same, but sloppier. So I ended up getting out of the SQQ, which, as you know, is the triple leveraged long of the Qs, or I guess triple leveraged inverse of the Qs ETF. So and the reason for that is, first, we're down a lot, and we got to that support area that we talked about, right? Here it is. We talked about just last week's video, talked about this box being support, and we got to it. So we got pretty, if you look at the weekly chart, okay, I just dropped the mouse, great. If you look at the weekly chart, we're also extended a lot to the downside. Guys, give me a second. I dropped the mouse on the floor, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So if you look at the weekly chart, we're extended to the downside a lot. So I think it was a pretty decent exit. But because the market is still bearish, I think we'll eventually probably, get down here or even lower. Eventually, okay, but only time will tell. For now, I actually flipped to the TQQ long now on the Qs daily chart. I'm messing up here with my time frames, going back to the daily. So I switched to the TQQ, and I have a feeling I'm gonna regret it quickly. My target, I wasn't gonna hold long term, but my target was going to be that trend line, so around, and the 20 MA, so around between 310 on the Qs to 315 or so. That was going to be my target. I don't know if we're going to get there, honestly, because it's usually not a great idea to bet against the trend unless it accelerates, and we didn't accelerate very much at the bottom. So again, I trailed out of my short position in the Qs, but I was in the SQQ, and I actually trailed out of about 12 shorts, okay? Every single short that I had, no, I have a couple still, but almost every single short that I had was very extended to the downside, and I felt like I had no choice but to trail out. I'll give you an example. Birds, been in it for over a month, okay? April 1st was the initial entry. So here on the base breakdown, I added to the position on this other base breakdown. So we had two different positions, and it was down a lot. Look at this. Down a lot. So once it took out the prior bar's high, I felt like I had no choice but to trail. There were a bunch of other things like that, 12 I think in total, that I trailed out of, and I bet you by next week they will be lower than where I exited, because we're in a bearish market, so prices continue lower. But it's hard not to trail when the stock is already down a lot, up a lot in your favor, and starts to go against you. It's really hard to trail. So we'll see. Again, we'll see how it all plays out. I also put on a bunch of long positions yesterday. As I said, the TQQ but also a bunch of long positions. I do have the list here. Yeah, so here's what I put on, if you just want to see what I put on in terms of positions for tomorrow. That I'm already in. This one I put on Thursday, triggered, not Friday. See, that was climactic buy setup. ANNX, this one didn't go. It's the only thing that I put on and didn't go. We'll see. BHC, climactic, and a novice gap. So every position that I took long has nothing to do with the market, or so I feel at least. It's really on its own page. Look at the FNKO on this buy setup daily chart. It looks nothing like the market, but look at the monthly also. It's a monthly buy setup. So that's why I took it. FRPT down so much, went climactic. GDRX is a gap fade, hourly base breakout. GH is like the FRPT, climactic to the downside. MASI was an hourly base breakout. Look at the hourly. So those are the positions that triggered Thursday and Friday. MAT, also daily buy setup. And Merck is actually on tomorrow's list. It looks good still. So let's take a look at the list for tomorrow. I don't have any shorts. I couldn't find any good shorts at all. Okay, so we have AKAN as a long over the base. It's interesting. Over the base, $1.39. Stop under $1.05. Target probably $3. This bar's high. Now that's 270. Maybe even more. Maybe it gets to 4. So this is interesting. AKAN as a long. BBIG, daily buy setup plus a red bar. So if it takes out 281, I'd say, that's a good long. Now, if it doesn't take out, if these plays don't trigger, I would never get them, because there's a likelihood that the market would continue lower. So only if they trigger. Only if they trigger. Okay? And BBIG, I said over 281. I like it long. Stop under the pivot, 234. Target 1 would be the prior high. BHC already in it, personally, but it didn't really go very much when it triggered on Friday. Right? It didn't pop much. So I think it still looks okay. CHGG is an hourly base breakout. And the CHGG and a lot of other stocks are down to prior levels of support on the monthly chart. Maybe not so much the CHGG, but if you look at, I don't know, if you look at Redfin, down so much to the all-time low. See it? If you look at, let's say PayPal, down so much to the prior low. If we look at Wix, so much to the prior low. If you look at TDOC, so much. Actually, this took out the support, but it's almost at. Is this the all-time low? It's almost at the all-time low. So there's so many interesting long-term positions. Shop at the prior low, just like PayPal, except Shop probably looks a little bit better. What else? Again, there's so many interesting positions. If only I felt a little bit more comfortable about or confident that the market has bottomed. I don't think it has. I think the bottom that we got yesterday or a couple days ago is gonna be a short-term bottom, and then we're eventually gonna continue lower, in which case these stocks will also continue lower. Carvana down so much, again, to support, right? Again, there's so many of these that are really, really interesting. Coin is at all-time low, but it's also an excellent climactic buy setup. If you look at the daily chart, it triggered already, but it's not too late. But they're all gonna depend on whether the market goes up from here or not. The fact that I'm in the market long, I believe it will go up for a couple more days. So we'll see. And then the positions that I took long, I think a lot of them look completely different than the market, and they should work, I think, whether the market works out or not. Okay, so that's my That's my thinking, at least. You've seen my positions, so you'll find out, we'll both find out by probably tomorrow, this week, whether these plays will work or not. So back to the swing list here. I like the CHGG as an hourly base breakout. So over the base, long, stop under it, and target one usually is the prior high, which is in this case $21. Target 2 would be the 20 MA on the daily chart, unless you want to hold it long term. If you think the market bottomed, all of these will be incredible long-term ideas. Okay, all of these should prove to be really good long-term ideas, but I don't think the market is bottomed long-term. Carvana looks pretty interesting, even though it's in an all-out downtrend. Over the base there, stop right here, okay, on the CVNA. If you like, I like it over this bar's high, which is 45.50. Stop under 36.30. I don't remember this one. Okay, this one triggered the climactic buy setup on Thursday, so it's kind of late now, but it still looks higher as long as it takes out 26.85, and then the stop can be at 24.80 or so. So it's about a $2 stop. Target 1, target 2, the gap fill. So target 1, the prior high, the gap fill, target 2. The JYNT is like the GDRX. Remember the GDRX that triggered as a long? So JYNT is exactly the same, long over the base, whatever the highest point is. I don't remember off the top of my mind, and then show a stop under the pivot here, or can actually use the tighter stop right there. And target is the gap fill or the declining 20, whichever comes first. It's going to be the declining 20. LIQT. Okay, LIQT is a little bit different. It's just one day. On all of the gap fade ideas, meaning gap down, and I look to play them long, I always wait for at least 2 days. So if you look at JYNT, if you look at everything else, it's going to be more than 1 day. Except LIQT is an exception because it was a secondary on Friday, and it's a little bit climactic on the daily chart. So long over 53 cents, stop under 48 cents, and target the gap fill. The gap fill means the bar from which it gapped. So the bottom of that bar is 90 cents. So from 48 cents to 90 cents, it will almost have doubled, basically. So it's a pretty good target. Merck, amazing. All-time high almost, I think. Yeah, almost. So I like it higher over Friday's high, which is 91.05. 91.05. Okay? On the Merck. Amazing bullishness. OST. OST is an hourly transition A breakout. Not my favorite, but long over 250. Stop under 210. Okay? And target, not sure, maybe 350 for target on the OST. PRTY was played as a short, as a swing earnings play in the newsletter short. We were actually in it this day, and it gapped down a huge amount. Was nice, but I like it higher now over the base. It's not one of the ones that I'm gonna play. If you're a subscriber, I already picked a few. Feel free to log on to your account and take a peek. Feel free to follow along by putting in orders in the system or on the plays that you like. Okay, I picked a few. So long stop on the PRTY, but it's not my favorite. And then AT&T, remember I was talking about, when I started to talk about the CHGG, I switched topics a little bit, and I talked about all these stocks that are down so much to the prior support, right? This is one of them. AT&T is one of them. Now, AT&T is not a growth stock like the other ones, but it is at prior support, all-time low. Or, yeah, I mean, I thought it was. It's actually slightly below. You know what? It's not really slightly below. It is at support, but this platform is not adjusting for the spin-off. Remember, they spun off WRB, and we had that false gap down. That's not a real gap down. So AT&T is at support. If I open TC2000, I could show you. I'm gonna open it. What the heck? And AT&T is at support, multi-year level, and it's got a daily buy setup here. So I like it. So let me show you the AT&T, but I have to adjust the window here to fit the projected area on my screen. So here is, and then I have to zoom in a little bit. So here is AT&T. Okay, here it is coming. So if we zoom out now a little bit, you will see that AT&T is, here's AT, and I'm just gonna zoom out a little bit. AT&T is at the all-time low, or at the prior support, multiple levels of support, this area, that area. So I like it. I like the location a lot. If we go back to the daily chart on this, you can see that we don't really have a gap down at all. So see, we don't have a gap down at all. In fact, we have a gap up probably the day that it gapped down here. Why do we have a gap down? Because they spun off a portion of their business, WRB, Warner Bros. I thought, no, it wasn't the WRD maybe? I forgot the symbol. I thought it was WRB, WBR? I don't remember the symbol, but whatever. So I like it because it's at support and it's transitioning on the daily chart. It also pays, I don't know what the yield right now on AT&T. We can Google it together. What's the yield on AT&T, stock? All right, there it is. As of right now, it is 8%. I think it's 8%. Okay, that's pretty good in dividends, and it's at support. So I like it as an IRA long-term position, not as a short-term position. Last but not least is the UPST, which is just like the BHC, basically. Just like we played it was my best play on Friday, I think. BROS, BROS, novice gap. When the stock is down a lot, right, and then gaps down, you want to look to play it long. I called this live in the room, played it. I think it made close to 4K on Thursday for me. So this was my best play on Thursday. So UPST, similar. No, UPST wasn't a novice gap, but it's the same idea, down a lot. BHC was another novice gap. Amazing. They don't get any better than this. This is called novice. When it's down a lot and then gaps down, that's capitulation basically. So you look to fade the gap or play against the gap, right? So UPST is not exactly the same because I see that it gapped from the 20. When a stock gaps down from the 20 MA on the daily chart, it's not novice. But it can still be faded if it's a mega gap, which it is. It triggered already, but it's not too late over the base. Okay, it's not a base really, just over Friday's high, I would say. Stop. I would give it all the way down to here. The stock is crazy, UPST. It dropped from 400, basically. 400 just at the end of, oh no, that was towards the end of last year. It was 401.50. Dropped all the way down, and notice to the all-time low, to the prior support. 22.50 was the all-time low. It dropped to 25.50. So there's so many stocks that are so freaking attractive. If only I thought that the market has bottomed. If I thought the market has bottomed, all of these plays that I just showed you, and there's many more that are down so much, 90%, sometimes more than 90%, into prior support, into the all-time low, so attractive. But the reason why I don't think, a lot of them I think are not going to work, is because I think the market will continue lower for a while, for a lot longer. Okay, so that's why. But if you feel otherwise, then I just gave you a bunch of ideas. We will have coaching in the strategic swing trader room on Monday, so we can go over some more ideas. But for now, that will do it for today. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to join me in the newsletter, we're still in the earnings season. I'm still calling earnings plays. Click the link in the description, okay? And you can get the first month for, I think, $49. And it's month to month, so you can cancel anytime you want. At any rate, check it out if you want. Reach out to us if you have questions by emailing customer service. And that will do it for today. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care, everybody. Ciao.